The best fried chicken in Texas. Rody's Country Fried Chicken. Texas born, Texas raised. A chicken joint with 35 years of service to our community. Thanks to our loyal customers and social media followers. Come try the best gizzards in Texas, the best tenders in Texas, and the best chicken in Texas. Call us at 830-773-9189. 830-773-9189. Don't forget, we have curbside service and delivery by DoorDash. Or find us on Facebook, Rody's Chicken. RODEES Chicken. Like us on Facebook.
The best fried chicken in Texas.
Rody's Country Fried Chicken.
That Metal Interview.
Formed in 1974, a band by the name of RAVEN from the great country of England, Great Britain that is. 1974, the Gallagher Bros, John and Mark, formed this band. I believe they're on album number 15, if I am correct. Correct me if I'm not. Metal City is the name of their latest effort and album. Very, very good stuff. Very, very awesome, straightforward heavy metal for all of you metalheads out there. And I had the pleasure to speak to vocalist, bassist John Gallagher of RAVEN. And so let's check it out. Enjoy. Congrats on Metal City. Kick-ass stuff, top to bottom. Talk to us about this album, the making and all that.
Yeah, well, it was quite a long, drawn-out process. Much longer than we wanted it to be, but events took hold. The first event that slowed us down was the previous album. Extermination did very well for us, and we did an awful lot of touring. And the touring for that was starting to wind down a bit, and we could see, the light at the end of the tunnel when we would have time to start doing a new record, which would be I guess the fall of 2017.
Okay.
And we had a bunch of dates set up, and then our drummer Joe Hasselvander had a heart attack.
Oh wow.
And we had 2 days grace to scrabble and get some guys to fill in, because it was way too close to cancel these shows, and we wanted to do them. And really there was a bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes, and basically Joe was done. He didn't really want to be out on the road all the time like we'd been, and there was some issues there, so I guess somebody up above just kind of took him out of the equation. We were freaking out because thank God it happened where he did, because he was near a hospital. He was literally 2 or 3 minutes from a hospital, so he had one of these 90% blocked arteries on his heart or whatever. But anyway, he'd said, he's bowing out, and we got these guys in, and we had like 4 shows in the States, and then we had a festival and a tour in Europe. And the first show, we got this guy in Chicago. We booked rehearsal time, so luckily we had 4 hours to work with him. And we did a show, and it was great. We got through it. And then we had 3 shows. We had Jersey, we had Baltimore and Delaware. And we had this guy, Mike Heller, who had been playing with Fear Factory and a whole bunch of crazy bands. And we met him in Jersey. We flew to Jersey. We get there, talk to the guy for half an hour, and we go and play a full show. And it was absolutely brilliant. And we just, all 3 of us were just looking at each other like, whoa, there's chemistry,
Michael.
And he couldn't do the European stuff. We had other guys who did a great job filling in on that, but we had this connection with Mike, and we just said, once we get back, let's talk. So we talked, he was interested, he wanted in, and then I think that would have been June, and from June to December we did about 150 dates.
Wow.
which was like insane. We did a very long American tour. We did a European tour, which is about 70 dates, which mainly was with Udo, the ex-singer from Accept, opening for him. And in between, because he had so many days off, we stuck in like about another 25, 30 dates of our own in Europe. So somehow in between all that, Mike got to do drum tracks for the new record, because we'd already had all the songs written. But his drum performances really kicked it up a notch to a different level, which was great. We had an abortive recording session then for guitars and bass, which didn't work out because of a disagreement with the engineer. We had to scrap it all. And we did the Monsters of Rock cruise in January of 2018, and our old friend Michael Wagner was on the ship. And we'd initially asked him just to mix the new record once we get it done, because Mike was moving to Los Angeles and he was building a home studio there, and we were like, oh, we'll do it at Mike's place, and get Michael Wagner to mix it. Well, Michael got in touch after the cruise and said, when do you think you'll have the recording? And we're like, well, I don't know, he's still working on the studio. He says, well, I've got kind of a medical thing. I've got to go in and get major surgery in April. And this was like, I guess, tail end of February when we were talking. And I said, well, the studio's not going to be ready till like July. He says, well, why don't you just come and do it here? So like a day and a half later, we found ourselves in Nashville at Michael's studio.
Oh, wow.
And, the old gang was back together again, and we had a grand old time because we've done like 3 records with them before, and it was awesome. And we were able to, meet the challenge Mike had set up by doing those drum tracks, so it was great just bringing the songs fully to life there, and upping our game, and just had the greatest time, and locked it all together. Pretty much we knew which songs we wanted to do, so there wasn't a lot of time wasted recording a whole bunch of extra stuff. We did 11 songs. We knew we wanted a 10-song album, and we did the one extra track for Japan, which is like a rock and roll track called Rock This Town, which was a lot of fun to do. It almost sounds like a live in the studio thing. But we wanted an album that wasn't too long, because we felt that was possibly the only fault we had on the album before, where that was like, verging into double album territory. And we wanted something that, you put on, you listen to it, you rock out, you get into it, and you want to put it on again. It's got that kind of impact. That's really what we were going for.
Awesome. Yeah.
And we did a mix, and we weren't particularly excited about it, so we decided to go outside, and we auditioned a whole bunch of people. And that took forever, and we had a great concept for the art. That took forever. So and then of course the pandemic ran into it. So that's why it took 5 years.
5 years, wow! Talk about a bunch of delays, huh? Wow.
Yeah, I mean, really, it should have been, it should have been recorded at least and all done in 2017 and out in 2018, but that was not to be the case. We wanted it out earlier in 2020, and these days you really want to tour with the record. You have the double-edged sword for the promotion, and it's all got to lock together. And we had some cool opening bands, and they couldn't make the schedule, and we're like, we've waited this long, let's put it back. And then literally a week later, the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So, we'd set everything for it to come out in September, so we just stayed with that. And I think it worked out for us, because without any live music, people were hungry to hear any kind of music at all.
Yeah.
So, we definitely, and we had I mean, so far we've done 3 videos and they've been really well received. It's the best reaction we've had to an album probably since the first one. The press has been excellent. The fan response has been excellent. We know it's a great record. And for a band that's been around as long as we have, to come up with something this good, where it stands alongside the best work we've ever done. It's not that usual, oh yeah, you know, it's a great record, blah, blah, blah. it really is.
Yeah.
It's a blockbuster, you know, so we couldn't be happier.
Oh, yeah.
We can't tour at the moment, that's not...
Hopefully you guys will be on the road soon, you know, so, but every track on there is badass, you know, I mean, the Power, you know, Top of the Mountain, Human Race, you know, it's just it's worth the wait, you know, to me, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we were looking in that, we were very prolific on this one. We probably chose these songs out of like 40 songs that we had. We wrote a lot of songs, and they were good songs. So we had the opportunity to go, okay, we're going to have a 10-song album. What's the lead-off track? Which song do you think would be a killer star? And it was like, well, The Power. And there was 2 or 3 others, and we're like, let's go with The Power. And then, you know, where would you go from there? Well, let's go, you know, fast but old school. And the perfect song for that was Top of the Mountain, which really sounds like it's got its foot in the early albums, and it's also stretching forward into the future as well, you know?
Yeah.
And then where do you go from there? And, you know, we just plotted it out so that the sequencing was all set, pretty much, you know?
Yeah. Now, when you guys
said... That's important.
Go ahead.
Sorry, that's important for us being, you know, old school in that way, where you want to have an album that's got a bit of ebb and flow, tells a story, and you can listen to it all the way through.
It was organized perfectly, you know, the sequence, so badass. When you guys sat down to write Metal City, I mean, was there a specific direction you wanted to go? I mean, did you guys say, you know what, let's make it sound like All for One, or like this, or like that? Or do you guys just take off writing, or what do you do?
We basically just take off writing. I mean, obviously, one thing in the back of our heads is like, we want an album, you know, we've been working towards it. The last 2 albums before this, you know, they Walk Through Fire was an album after a lot of, you know, this was the first album back after my brother had a horrific accident in 2001.
That's right.
And it took about 9 years before that finally got together. Mm-hmm. So that was like, you know, putting the flag in the sand. Okay, we're here, you know, and let's work our way forward from here, which we had. But we just took a quantum leap on this one. And you wanted to have an album, like I said, that stands with the, you know, it stands with Rock Until You Drop, Wiped Out, All for One, have that kind of energy, but also show that we're not just resting on our laurels, and, you know, we're certainly not rewriting old shit, as it were, you know.
Yeah.
We're going forward. There's a lot of, you know, we're excited. It's a great time for the band. I mean, you know, we're completely old farts here. We've been on this planet like freaking dinosaurs, but we deliver. We deliver live. Yeah. We deliver. You know, we write decent songs. You know, the good songs, and that's really where it comes from. The good songs, and that's your bedrock, and everything comes from that. You know.
Yeah. Now take us back to the beginning of Raven. How did you and your brother start? And I'm a musician myself. Why the bass? Why the bass guitar? Why not the guitar, or vice versa? Your brother, how come he couldn't play bass? Or
we were as we were kids. The only music you saw was on. There was a show called Top of the Pops, which you may have heard of in England, which was all the top 20.
Yeah. And
in the early 70s, you know, there was a lot of rock stuff. I mean, I remember seeing Black Sabbath and Deep Purple and Uriah Heep and Status Quo. And then, you know, our band was Slade. they had so many hits, and they was such a great rock band. You know, the Outrageous Image, all the glam bands like Sweets and T-Rex, and all had loud guitar, and we loved it. We said, we want to do that. And it was weird because we didn't know anybody else who was doing that in our area. You know, there was lots of bands in the northeast of England, but not in our street, you know what I mean? Or next street, or people we knew. So we literally formed a band and then bought instruments when we were able to bug our parents to get cheap electrics for Christmas, you know? And played our first show at our school in December 1975. We formed the band about a year before that. And we went from there. There was me, my brother, and a guy down the street, Paul Bowden, who also played guitar. And we went through a variety of drummers, you know, like local. The guy from the next street who couldn't play was the drummer for the first two shows. We got an older kid in for another show. Then we had this guy, Mike Kenworthy, who was an older guy, good drummer, got us into playing the pub circuits and the working men's clubs. There was a circuit of working men's clubs that were like members only, where, you know, working class people could go in and get cheap beer and see entertainment. And that was us being dropped in at the deep end, entertain or die. And that's where we learned to deal with a rowdy audience, or an audience that hated you, and work it to your advantage, you know. And then Paul left. We had this guy, Sean Taylor, in on drums, who ended up in a band called Satan later on down the line, still a good friend of ours. And he left, and we got this guy, Rob Hunter, in on drums. And we had a replacement guitar player who didn't work out. We told him to leave, and we're just looking at each other and we're going to go as a three-piece. and that was the big move. That was a big change, because all of a sudden we all had so much more to do. You know, you have so much more sonic real estate to fill up. And that made us improve as musicians almost instantly, because we had to. You had to fill the space. And it was in, you know, you're watching, well, Jimi Hendrix did it, Emerson Lake Palmer did it, you know, Motorhead are doing it. It can be done. You know, you can make it a Rush, of course. You can make this work. And it affected our writing. We started writing more interesting, more parts, you know. So the songs were melodic and had hooks, but they also had these left turns and crazy bits of instrumentation. And, you know, then we had it together. So our first album really encapsulates pretty much what we were about, you know.
Wow. What a beginning, man. Wow. So it's so cool how you and your brother have stuck together forever, man. How does that feel when you turn around and your brother's still there after over 40 years, you know? How does that feel?
Well, it's hard to describe, but it's comfortable, put it that way.
Wow.
You know, we learned from scratch. And, you know, pretty much everything we've achieved, it's been back-to-back, clawing, fighting, you know, making it happen. And the way we play, quite often it's like one sound. I play stuff that complements what he plays. I don't play it exactly the same. I play stuff that fits with it and makes it sound bigger. And that's something, since we went as a three-piece, that's something that we developed right there and then. You know, it's like you have to. It's orchestration. With the, you know, we have two instruments, a voice and drums, so you've got to orchestrate and make it musically interesting and fun and different, and it's a great challenge, and we love doing that.
Yeah, it is a challenge, but you guys sound great. I mean, three-piece bands sound great. I mean, there's a bunch of three-piece, ZZ Top, you know, and then...
Yeah. Well, the thing that always got us over the years is if you'd be touring with a band and you'd be watching them, and inevitably in a two-guitar band, if you're on tour, you're going to see some guy having difficulties, right?
Yeah.
His guitar goes out, his chord goes dead, or the wireless goes down. And you'd listen and go, oh wow, it sounds so much better with just one.
Right. I noticed that. Yeah.
Because, sometimes you're a little out of sync and it would make it a bit messy,
Yeah.
sometimes, and it would just tighten up. And that's one thing we've always had with that is, even no sound check, get out on stage. It's not rocket science to get our sound together because it's just bass, drums, guitar, and vocal.
Yeah.
It helps.
And then you have a 3-guitar deal with Iron Maiden, huh? Wow. So that's just way off the wall.
Well, that's a different way of doing it. And of course, they have those orchestrated pieces where they've got like harmony guitar and a rhythm guitar underneath. So that's fine.
Yeah.
We know we played with those guys back in 1980, and Yannick, we played with Yannick. Yannick used to be in a band called White Spirit from the northeast of England.
Yeah.
Way back when, so.
Wow.
And at one point I think he was basically thinking of giving it all up, and then he hooked up with Bruce, and the rest is history.
Yeah. So I heard you're a huge Motorhead fan.
I'm a decent Motorhead. I wouldn't say a huge Motorhead fan, but the first time I saw Motorhead, I was not impressed at all because it sounded like they were playing through a transistor radio. I saw them at the Reading Festival in 1979, and I'd heard, oh my God, Bomber. I believe Bomber was the record that had come out then, and it was like, wow, these guys are crazy. And you could see them on stage and go, no, these guys are drunk. Noisy as hell and drunk. And then a few years later, we got to open up for them, and they were even more drunk and louder. But they sounded better. But we played with Motorhead over the years many times, and I mean, Lemmy's such a character and an underrated lyricist, such great words, absolutely wonderful lyrics,
Yeah, now you guys have been influential to a bunch of people and bands in the thrash scene, as people know. You took out Metallica and Anthrax out on their first big tours, huh? That's history right there, man.
Yeah, we had our first tour of America, and it was Johnny Z in New Jersey was putting it together for us. He says, I've got the biggest band in San Francisco to open up for you. And we're like, what? The big bands we knew from San Francisco were Journey, Sammy Hagar, Y&T. No, Metallica. I'm like, who? And somehow we got a cassette tape of No Life Till Leather, and it sounded like Motorhead played twice the speed, We're like, these guys will do, this will be fun. And we came over and hooked up with those guys and went out for whatever it was, 6-7 weeks, and had a great time. we really did. And it was their first tour, so they were watching and learning and picking up stuff here and there, but great. We really did. And it was 17 people in 2 trucks in a Winnebago, so they got very dirty and very sleep deprived very quickly.
Also Anthrax, huh? You guys got to tour?
Yeah, we took Anthrax out the next year. I mean, we'd met Anthrax the first time we played. There's pictures from our first show in America, which was at the St. George's Theatre in Staten Island, Halloween 1982.
Wow.
And you can see Scott and Danny Liger standing right there on the side of the stage. So, I mean, they were there. They had their band. They had the, music, and they were raring to go. And then finally, persuaded Johnny Z to let them put something together, and that was their first tour. They came out with us in '84.
Wow, history in the making, huh? Now you guys, you guys have been around for years. What was different back in the '70s or '80s as compared to today? Obviously, the internet what is different as far as what would you say is different? The big factor in music.
Well, everything changes, and I mean, we've been, geez, this is our 47th year as a band.
Wow.
Which is kind of hard to believe, but it is true. And you know, the wheel goes round. What is popular will become unpopular, and then it'll come round and be popular again. So you know, when we were starting up, things started getting unpopular because it was punk.
Yeah.
Punk was the big thing, and then punk went away, and then it was the new wave of British heavy metal, and everything was wonderful. And then it started getting more glam, and then it went thrash. And then all of that went away because of grunge and what have you. And it went away, and then it started to come back. And you know, there's always a core following for metal, and there always will be. You know, so that, you know, that's the old saying. You know, the only thing that is constant is change. But as far as the business, of course, the business itself has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
And now we've been thrown the biggest problem of all with this horrible pandemic that's going on at the moment. But the thrust, of course, was on live work because of the internet and total mismanagement by the record companies, basically giving away the farm and opening Pandora's box with what was it? I'm trying to remember the name of the Britain. Geez, what was it called, man? The file sharing lock when that started.
Yeah.
And then, you know, and then it's basically music has no value. So it's like we're in the business of selling T-shirts and playing live now, and then, you know, the records are like a promotional tool. Luckily for us, in this, you know, broad genre of music, the fans love to have the physical article. They want a CD, they want the vinyl, they want the gatefolds, they want the booklets, they want all that, so they will buy it, you know, as opposed to just downloading a file and deleting half the tracks and keeping one, that kind of crap, you know.
Yeah.
So we're very lucky in that regard, and I mean, because that's we take great pride in making a great package. I mean, the package for Metal City was a lot of hard work, and it came out excellent. It's that whole comic book thing where it looks like a comic, and it's got all the artwork inside, and just a lot of interesting stuff for people to look at, you know. And I think that's important, because that's a thing we went through as kids, where it was an immersive experience, where you listened to the music and looked at the cover and read the words, and, you know, who was the engineer, where did they record this, what were they playing, all that cool stuff, you know. And it seems, especially with a lot of other music, that's just disappeared, you know. So we definitely are into that and want to keep that alive and show, you know, like the young kids who are coming up now. I mean, we get like 3 generations of people watching us live. There's the young kids, there's their fathers and mothers, and then there's their fathers and mothers. Yeah. So wow. You know, so it's a cool thing. I mean, you play in places like South America, and I swear there's nobody above 30. Wow. And then you'll play Germany and England, and, you know, you'll get a real mishmash from young kids up to 60, 70-year-olds, you know. Wow. And then some of them are almost as old as us.
That's so cool, man. You know, you get to see all these age groups. That's very cool. Very, very cool. Kids and everything in between.
No, believe me, we are so lucky and realize it and are humbled by it that we are able to do what we do, to do it well, to entertain people, put a smile on their face, and get paid to travel around the world and do it. I wouldn't trade it for anything, you know?
Now, back when there was live shows before the pandemic, out of so many great albums and songs, how do you guys build a set list, you know, for a live gig? How do you pick and choose out of so many great songs, you know?
It's difficult. If we're doing a headline show, you've got a little more latitude. It's a longer set. and you can say, okay, we're going to play, there's those 5 or 6 songs that you kind of have to play that people really want to hear, and you can do them, or at least have a bunch of like maybe 8 songs that you're going to pick those 5 songs from, and then change it up all the time. At least 3 or 4 songs from your newest record, and then have spaces where tonight we'll do this, we'll do Firepower tonight, and tomorrow we'll do Crash Bang Wallop, and what I mean. We like to keep it interesting for us, and especially like there's fans who travel from show to show. You want, you don't want to play exactly the same set every night.
Yeah.
That comes into it more when you're doing an opening set. You're restricted with time, and quite often it's to the second. So that makes it a little harder to constantly change the set, because you run into the horrible situation of them cutting you off.
Yeah.
If you're overplaying, you don't want to overplay, because that's it's rude, and it makes everyone have to work an awful lot harder. So you really want to be on time, do your thing, get off, and then the main band comes on and does their thing,
Yeah.
It's got to be like a military operation. But even in that situation, we will say we'll change one song around, or if we're doing a couple of new ones in there, we'll switch one out and switch another in. But by and large, you pretty much, you'll experiment a little bit at the beginning, lock it down, and go, okay, we're good. And then once you're comfortable with that, you have an idea if you want to switch a song round just to make it fun, if you can get away with that,
Yeah. Give us your best gig and your worst gig.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Too many best gigs.
Right.
I mean, I can go from, because as kids in our hometown, there was 2 gigs to play, the big gigs. There was the Mayfair Ballroom, which was a nightclub, 2,000 capacity, right in the centre of town, and there was the City Hall. We played the Mayfair, I think the first time in 78, 79.
Uh-huh.
Actually, no, we opened for somebody earlier than that. We opened for a punk band called The Motors back in 76, I think it was.
Oh, wow.
And the City Hall we only did once. It was actually opening for Girls' School in 82. But that's like a big deal to us to actually play there. And then things like playing the Hammersmith Odeon, which we've opened for Ozzy, and we opened for Girls' School there too.
Nice.
But there's so many firsts. So there's one of the first big festivals we did was the Aardschok Festival in Holland in 1983, where we were second on the bill. I think there was a band called Trance, there was Merciful Fates, then there was us, then there was Accept. And that was an insane gig. That was like really, really cool for us.
Wow.
And playing with, before that, playing with Ozzy, we did 4 gigs on the Blizzard of Oz tour. Played with Whitesnake, Motorhead. Playing with Priest was brilliant in the States in 86. We did 6 dates with them, and they were amazing, and we're huge fans. So that's stuff like that was always cool. But it's difficult. We'd actually opened for Metallica in 2014 at a football stadium in Brazil. That's the biggest show we've ever played. That was 70,000 people, and they were so cool. They couldn't have been nicer to us. The crew were incredible to us, and it was just a wonderful experience all the way around. The worst show? Oh, jeez. I've got one great bad show, right? We played in Reno in 2016, I believe it was.
Uh-huh.
And we got there, and they were still making the stage. Hammers, saws, the whole 9 yards going on. So it's like, okay, we're going to go eat. We come back, they had it together. We go, the opening band's playing, and it was a pathetic sound system. It just sounded like just dreadful. I'm there with me head against the speakers going, is this thing even on?
Really?
Oh God. So it's not going to be great. They have a chaser on the lights, which is sound. The sound triggers the lights to go around in a circle.
Yeah. Wow.
Not a guy operating the lights, just this. So whenever you played it was just going around in a circle.
You're a chaser.
So,
wow.
Yeah, that was a nightmare.
Wow.
And on the stage itself, it had shag carpet.
Oh, wow.
So we're playing, and you really have to lift your feet, or you'll trip. And my brother's a big guy, and he's barreling across the stage, and he trips and goes headlong into the drum kit.
Really?
Destroying the drum kits. Our drummer at the time, Joe's knocked backwards, flat on his ass, drums everywhere.
No way.
Takes 15 minutes to put it all back together.
Oh, wow.
We get it back together, we keep going. Some guy gets up on stage and he's dancing. He's
wow.
taking the mickey, he's taking the piss, laughing, but he's dancing with us. And we're like, yeah, get off. He
Wow.
gets off. And then we get near the end, we're playing, he gets up and does it again. And he's, bumping into my brother. My brother's like, yeah, get off. And he's like, ha ha ha. And my brother pushes him, get off. The guy gets mad and pushes my brother.
Oh, wow.
Wrong move. Guitar goes down, fists, boom, boom, boom.
Wow.
I'll come over, I kick him too. The guy flies through the air, 6 foot down to the bottom. He's lying on the ground like a broken bug. And I'm like,
Wow, what a...
keep off our stage. He comes up after the show to my brother. And he's like, man, you could have killed me. My brother puts his arm around the cage and goes, don't worry, son, it's all part of the show.
What a story right there. Wow.
So that can happen. Another one was in Slovakia in 2016. It was my birthday. This was in Ljubljana, I think. And we're doing the sound check. And it was dark. There wasn't many lights on. I couldn't see the sound man. And I'm trying to test my microphone, and he's not there. My headset microphone with a wireless. And, I'll go look for him. So I go to walk down, and I miss the stairs.
Oh.
And it's like 6-7 foot down on the concrete.
Oh, no way.
So I curled into a ball. Somehow, didn't break the microphone and didn't break me.
Oh, wow.
and then after all that, in the middle of the show, my brother picks up a huge bottle of water, having fun with me, throws the water. All the water comes out of the bottle, goes all over me, shorts the microphone, shorts the wireless. It's like $1,500 worth of damage instantly.
Oh.
And here we are in the middle of, bum F nowhere. So I had to use a regular microphone until we could get to England and buy a new one.
Oh, man. What a story right there. Wow. You guys should...
Like, happy birthday to me.
Right? You guys should... Is there a movie on this? So you guys should have a movie on this.
Oh, yeah. I got to do the book. That's for sure.
A book for sure, yeah. Awesome, man. Would you like to send a message to the Raven fanatics listening to this podcast?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for all your support. And I know it sucks at the minute not being able to see live music, but hopefully by the end of this year, there's some reports that might even stretch into 2022. All I can tell you, as soon as things open up, we will be out on the road and we will see you then. So hang in.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Appreciate your time, and hope to see you on the road soon.
Absolutely, man. Thanks so much. You take care.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to download and check out our podcast wherever you might find it on Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, Radio, Deezer, Amazon Music, Anchor, FM, a bunch of other digital formats out there that have our podcast available, That Metal Interview. Anyways, thank you guys for finding it wherever you might find it. out of so many podcasts out there. We really, truly appreciate it. So thank you guys. And a big shout out to the Raven family, the Raven band members. So thank you guys thank you, John, for spending time with us, and keep rocking, man. It's always heavy metal time somewhere in the world. So keep rocking, guys. And don't forget to tune in to our radio station, jrocksmetalzone.com. And stay tuned for other interviews. And don't forget to keep it metal.
That metal interview.